Hey everybody, we are thankful that you are joining us. We're getting the thankfulness going early here in November. Yeah, a week early. So thankful you are joining us. It is a football first Monday, and we got a ton to get to. You are listening to Diamonds and Hash Marks, more than likely on Spotify, could be on Apple Podcasts, but maybe even YouTube. Maybe you're watching. But DNH, it's another Monday episode, Football First Monday. I'm the host and producer, Alex Pichardo.
I'm the co-host Peyton Prashad.
Yeah, I do. Peyton, you got a new monitor recently, so
I do.
you've upgraded.
I've
Yeah,
upgraded. I will be looking up a whole lot because it's placed right here behind my computer. So you
yeah.
might get my little unicorn that's going on right here that I'm not going to be able to adjust until the end of the episode. But yeah, I'm excited.
Little
Excited
nose
about
hair
it.
action.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. No.
No,
We'll
don't
see.
do that. Don't. I don't edit any
Right.
of this. You know that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No. I know.
that's
I definitely do. Yeah.
yeah. Dang, that
Can't control
unicorn is
me.
strong though.
Yeah, dude. I gotta
Dang.
pull
All
up.
right. Yeah. So not ashamed of wearing the Jags jersey, and I'm not
Fair.
ashamed of wearing the hoodie. Not ashamed of wearing the hat. Are you wearing a Jags hat backwards?
No, it's the Bass Pro hat backwards again.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
But not ashamed.
Not ashamed.
34-3 can't shame me out of supporting the Jags. I've seen worse.
That's true.
I've definitely seen worse.
Yeah.
All right. Well, regardless of where you are listening, we would appreciate if you like, subscribe, 5-star review, whatever's necessary on your end. Helps out the algorithm, figure out who to recommend us to next. If you like this show, odds are you're going to like Nest.pod anywhere on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Odds are you're also going to like this other show called What's Up, Doc. We have enjoyed collaborating with them. They've enjoyed coming on this show. We are hopefully going to have What's Up, Doc on in the near future. And when I say near future, maybe within a couple months. We'll see if either of those podcasts are still running by then. But the hope is that they are. So go ahead and listen to those guys as well. Figure out if you like them, hit them up with a like, subscribe, 5-star review, whatever is necessary. Diamond Hashmark on Twitter, Diamonds and Hashmarks on YouTube, Instagram, throw in at gmail.com on the end of that. That's where you can reach the show personally. Lots of good interaction everywhere recently. We've really appreciated it, enjoyed all the love and support. Those likes really help us out, reach new people with this show, and let's just keep this thing going for as long as we can. So without further ado, Peyton, let's go ahead and get into a football first Monday. You ready?
Do it. Yeah.
All right. We started last episode talking about the Michigan cheating scandal, kind of brought you updates on that, the latest, what was circulating in the news, speculation as to how long Harbaugh might be suspended. But I mean, here we are a couple days later, and things seem to have happened very quickly because Jim Harbaugh has been suspended the rest of the year. The punishment came down shortly after we stopped recording, or it may have actually come down as we were recording, but we missed it. But there's a lot of substance there. Yeah. So he missed the Penn State game, and it seemed kind of evident in one sense, just because Michigan looked like they struggled a little bit in the beginning there. Peyton, I don't think they ran a pass play the entire second half of the game.
No.
It looked like they were strictly run.
Backfield. Yeah, Corum and Edwards in the backfield. Like Corum had himself a year last year. I remember watching him a whole bunch and just being like awestruck. It was like, man, there's going to be like another Michigan player that's going to come out of Michigan that's going to be like do like successful in the NFL. So they got a great running game. So I was like not surprised that it showed. So
yeah, but I mean, a little weird that Heisman candidate J.J. McCarthy did not attempt a pass, right?
Right. Yeah. All weird.
But let's go ahead and delve into this cheating scandal a little bit more, shall we? So Harbaugh suspended down for the rest of the regular season. Allegedly, given that Michigan wins out, even if they don't win the Big Ten, I still think they have an outside shot to make the Final Four college football playoff, but we'll see if that remains true or not. But presumably he will be coaching again this year if and when they do make the college football playoff. I think there's a legitimate chance that this thing goes to court, like further court than it already has, because I think there's already been an appeal involved. But essentially what's happened is the NCAA has done an investigation and shared all of its findings with the Big Ten. And the Big Ten has taken that information and used it as justification to say that Jim Harbaugh broke the sportsmanship policy outlined in the Big Ten bylaws. Are you pouring lemonade right now?
I am. I was trying to be quiet.
That's
Dang
crazy.
it. Then I started laughing because it sounded like I was peeing into something, and we're talking about something that's actually quite serious. So, okay.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo. Okay.
So, allegedly, Michigan has broken the sportsmanship policy
Sure.
within the Big Ten bylaws. So, the Big Ten has suspended Jim Harbaugh. They've used that as grounds to punish him. However, Michigan has submitted evidence to the Big Ten showing that Rutgers, Purdue, I forget the other schools involved in that, have corresponded with each other regarding sign stealing. And if the precedent being set for a suspension for the rest of the year, which at this point is 3 games, is that you break the sportsmanship policy by stealing signs. I mean, those other coaches are guilty of it too, then, aren't they? Like, don't you
Yeah.
think the Big Ten kind of has a duty to be consistent here to also suspend the Purdue head coach, the Rutgers head coach?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Like, and if you're cheating and if you're still losing, you're still a loser. So, what's going on here? Like,
Yeah, that's kind of tough.
And it's
A
got to
tough
come
look
down
for
to like
Rutgers.
the whole. Yeah, tough look for the Rutgers. But yeah, I mean, like if it's all inclusive and like it's proven that you do it, I think like Big Ten's got to crack down a little bit here.
Yeah, if it's
I totally agree with that.
you can argue
If
whether
it's
or not
evidence.
it's wrong to be stealing signs. We could argue that all day. But if it's in the rules and you're not allowed to do it, then you're not allowed to do it.
Right.
And the Big
Right.
Ten's interpretation of their own bylaws says stealing signs breaks the sportsmanship policy. And if you're corresponding with other schools about signs, I kind of think that falls under the premise of sign stealing, don't you?
Yeah. Agreed. Agree with that.
Okay. So we could see more suspensions. We could see this go to further court. We could also not. I would, though, just like to point out that there have been more suspensions for sign stealing in the NCAA than there were for the 2017 Astros.
There it is.
I think it's wild. Shout out Rob. He has since come out and said that immunity has probably been one of the worst decisions he's ever made as far as being commissioner of Major League Baseball and the 2017 Astros cheating scandal, which I still think is 10 times worse than anything Michigan has done. Because what Michigan has done is the old-fashioned work of taking the signs and deciphering them so that you can use them to your advantage. What the Astros did is they took real-time signs, knew exactly what they meant, and that like there was no deciphering involved for the Astros. So I just think that's interesting that the NCAA suddenly looks like it's tougher than Rob Manfred as far as suspending people for sign stealing, which is quite the statement because the NCAA is so soft. But I did see a sweater worn by one of the Michigan players getting ready for the game, leaving the game. I forget what it was, but it said Michigan versus everybody. And that irked me. I didn't like that at all. It was very reminiscent of the 2017 Astros at the beginning of the 2020 season or whatever, where they were kind of saying, it's us against the world. It's us versus everybody. Like, no, it's not. You cheated. You got caught. Own up to it. Apologize. If it breaks the rule that's laid out, apologize for breaking the rule, and all is fine. Like, I don't like this mantra of, yeah, we got caught, but it's us against everybody. Everybody hates us now. Like, yeah, everybody did hate you because you cheated and you still haven't apologized. So, I don't know. Do you think that's the vibe? Or do you think Michigan's justified?
Because if that's what it comes down to, then we're here sitting here hating the Cowboys, Notre Dame, Michigan, the Astros. Shall I go on? Ohio State. The list goes on.
Yeah, list goes on and on. This show, I guess, is just growing in hate. No, we made so much progress in apologizing.
We have. Healthy growth.
Admitting when we were wrong. Yeah. If you are watching the show on YouTube, go ahead and check out our playlist called Heinous Takes. I started that recently. There are 2 videos in it. Both of them are me. Probably the entire playlist is going to be me because I just have some of the worst takes of all time in there. But let's go ahead and get into the game. We already have a little bit just because we commented on it. Was kind of weird that Heisman Trophy candidate J.J. McCarthy did not attempt to pass in the second half.
Mm.
But Michigan did a great job. They won the game without their head coach on the sideline.
Yeah.
But I think the bigger story is Penn State cannot beat a top-ranked team. Because they haven't.
I think that's the bigger story, for sure.
Yeah. I'm starting to question why they were ranked number 10. Because it almost appears to me. Like, let's go ahead and give Penn State...
Ole Miss ranked 10? And then how did they jump up is, I guess, my question.
Yeah.
Like, who lost?
Dude, your unicorn horn is going crazy right now.
Dude, I'm trying to keep it contained right now. It's not working.
Yeah, so it was weird seeing Penn State ranked top 10, a top 10 according to who, the College Football Playoff Committee or the AP coaches poll, top 10 in one of those. I don't think top 10 in both of them, but I mean, you got to hype this up as a top 10 matchup, Michigan Penn State, and then Penn State just went out there and did Penn State things. Like, I don't know, Peyton, off the top of your head, can you name a single Penn State player?
I stopped following until when Parsons left. I knew Parsons. I watched Parsons. Yeah. Barkley comes to mind, but not now. Yeah. Can't come up with anything there.
Can't name a player off the top of the head. No household names on that team.
I
Not
find
that
is.
Yeah,
JJ McCarthy, 7 for 8 for 60 yards, and then Penn State's quarterback. I'm gonna probably butcher his last name, Drew Alar. Who's had a phenomenal season, 21 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
The insane ratio.
But he went 10 for 22 with 70 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Weird numbers across the board. It was a weird game to watch. So ultimately Michigan walking away with a victory there. So they stay alive. Who do they have next? Maryland. I think Michigan plays Maryland, and then it's the big game, and they're playing Ohio State. I'm looking forward to watching that one on Saturday. Peyton, we'll actually be together for that one up in South Carolina, so that'll be fun. Yeah. So here, just real quick, before we go any further, just want to say right now that Thursday's episode this week will not exist because I'm taking a much-needed vacation. Thursday's episode of next week will also not exist unless we actually get together and have the time to record an episode, which I highly doubt. But you are going to get 2 straight Monday episodes, and we'll see what happens after that. So
yeah, right.
Let's move on. LSU versus UF. I kind of said, before this game even started, this could go horribly wrong for the University of Florida. This could be the worst game that I have ever seen. Like, I knew Florida was going to get blown out. It was just a question of how much. Did you watch any of this?
No, but I just spilled lemonade on my leg. So I didn't watch any of this.
So now it does look like you peed yourself.
I didn't watch any of this game. Thank you very much. Let me pull it up here on a monitor so I can have the highlights so I know kind of what I'm talking about.
It was ridiculous. Here, let me go ahead and say this.
Yeah.
What was the final score?
52-35.
52-35. Jayden Daniels put up 606 total yards, which is the most in a FBS game by a quarterback. He had over 300 passing yards and over 200 rushing yards.
Yeah.
Brian Kelly's guy went off, and I think Jayden Daniels kind of firmly placed himself in a Heisman conversation. And we could talk about how much an individual has, autonomy over their Heisman contention, even if their team doesn't do well. But I mean, I think over 300 yards passing and over 200 yards rushing kind of should get you a little bit of Heisman talk anyway. So, I mean, do you think Jayden Daniels deserves that type of conversation? Do you think he ultimately comes away with the award?
I think he's deserving of the conversation. I don't know on the fact of him getting the award, like locking it down. But I mean, you just look at this game that he had, like 372 passing yards, 234 rushing yards, 5 total touchdowns in the game. That's almost like Joe Burrow stats, but that's all passing air kind of stuff.
Yeah,
which is crazy to me. So like Daniels, I think would definitely be a finalist. I don't know if I have like a set like winner now because I mean we even said like even in the preseason. Preseason before the college football even started, we were talking about Caleb Williams, but he's just been kind of falling off a little bit here.
Yeah.
We'll get into
And
that a
we'll
little
get to
bit
that.
later.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I think he's
Jayden
definitely worth
Daniels,
it. Yeah,
he had himself a day. And I think any defense that you put up over 300 yards passing and 200 yards rushing up against is like, that's impressive. I don't think it matters if you play for the University of Alabama and you're doing that against UAB or the College of
right.
Elon or whatever. Like, I think same thing applies to the professionals. Like
Crazy.
if you're throwing a no-hitter against, that Houston Astros, or you're throwing a no-hitter against the Pittsburgh Pirates, it's still a
Yeah.
no-hitter. It's still impressive to go out there and do that against
Mhm.
people who are actively working to be good at that sport as well. Like it's not like you're playing against people who have never touched a football in their life. Like these are a mixture of 5, 4, and 3-star recruits that are playing defense. And man, I just thought some of the comments by Napier in the post-game press conference were a little weird because it seemed like Napier didn't have all that much of a problem with the way that the defense played. He kind of said, yeah, the defense was good. Obviously, it just kind of comes down to players making plays. Like, and that irked me because I'm no football coach. I don't think the University of Florida would ever even remotely consider hiring me for any type of position within the football realm. But if
Mhm.
I were the head coach of the Florida Gators, and I walk up there to answer questions about how a quarterback just put up all-time yardage against my defense, I'm not calling that good at all. I'm walking in there and saying the standard we have at the University of Florida when it comes to defense was not met. We played terrible defense. But then, if you're Billy Napier, you can still take the blame yourself and not put it on the players if that's what you want to do, because then
Right.
you say something like this. And obviously, we as coaches need to do a better job because we didn't put our players in a position to succeed. See, it's that easy. Like, you don't call that defense good if you're giving up all-time yardage.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, so that bothered me. And I think it warrants this conversation. Fire Napier?
I think we're on that train now. 5-5 Florida Gators. I think at the end of the season, if they have a losing record, or even if they even squeeze their way into a winning record, Florida's going to evaluate and look at this, and they're going to be like, I don't think this is the right decision, and they'll probably move on. So
Yeah, and Peyton, we've said in the past that I think he gets a third year anyway. As much as we may not like it, he gets a third year. But we are at 5 wins. Bowl eligibility is given to a team after they get 6 wins. Like you get your 6th win, congratulations, you get to play in a bowl game. It may be like the Bojangles bowl game for all I care, but you get a bowl game. We've had 5 wins for the last several weeks. And I'm talking Georgia, which obviously we're not going to win that game. But all of the recent games that we've played, we've also had 5 wins. I think Missouri is our next opponent.
yeah,
I don't know if you're looking at it right now. I think Missouri is the next opponent. You
looking at
played
the Alabama
Arkansas.
Kentucky
You played a
game.
3-loss LSU team. How do you walk into that many games in a row with 5 wins, 1 game away from bowl eligibility, and not get it? Like, you have to walk in there with some fire in your step. You're 1 game away from taking that bowl game to your recruit's doorstep, saying, we played in this bowl game. Look at how we did in this, to possibly get somebody to commit to the University of Florida. Like, from a coach's perspective, I need to see more fire.
Think so. I think that's what everybody. That's. I think that's the potential to see their players perform in that. So that's a question. I think that's a totally fair point. Yeah, I was looking at the Alabama Kentucky game. I'm trying to load up the Florida schedule here in a minute.
As you're talking about Alabama, let's go ahead and talk about Alabama versus Ole Miss, because Alabama played a second straight clean game, I think.
They didn't play Ole Miss.
Who did they play? Oh, they played Kentucky. My bad.
Yeah. I was like, huh?
I butchered that. Yeah, Alabama played Kentucky, and I think that was their second straight clean game that they played. Obviously, the previous week when they played LSU, we said first clean game of the year, but Milroe is starting to turn it on. Looks like a much better quarterback. We've always known that he could run, but he's starting to pass the ball efficiently. 49-21, the final score against Kentucky. And Peyton, you and I have said this for a while now. Alabama's going to find a way to sneak into the college football playoff, right?
Yeah. At one point or another,
I think most of this, I think, does come down to how bad is that Texas loss. because Alabama did lose to Texas very early on, and it didn't look great for Alabama at that point. And you and I even sat here and had the conversation of, can a two-loss Alabama get in? Well, obviously no two-loss team can get in. Well, when was the last time Alabama even had two losses? Like, we had that conversation, and now we're talking about, yeah, they're getting in if they win out, but they got to roll through Georgia. But how bad is that Texas loss? Like, does losing to Texas keep them out as bad as that loss was?
Yeah, I don't know. I think if they get a one loss and if they win out and it's going to be hard to defeat a Georgia team like I saw this past week playing against. Gosh,
Yeah.
who they played? They were playing Ole Miss.
Yeah,
just absolutely.
Carson Beck looked for real.
He looked for real for one, but like as we always been saying, we started off slow. We didn't know what was going on, and all of a sudden it's 52 to whatever. So I think it's going to be hard to defeat. Excuse me, it's going to be hard to defeat a Georgia team that is stacked like that. So we'll see. I think this Texas loss is going to be something that I look back on and be like, man, if we came away with that game, I think we would have had a shot.
Yeah. Well, hey, honestly, I think you win out, you beat Georgia in the SEC title game. I think you get to play in the college football playoff. And we
Georgia,
may see
Georgia might be in the college football playoff because that might be like their only loss of the season. So
yeah, could see it again where we see those two teams both make it, and that would be a wild scenario because at that point you get your ACC champion, Florida State. Get your Pac-12 champion, right? Who would be Washington or Oregon because both of them are in it. And then you got to figure out whether or not your Big Ten champion in Michigan or Ohio State deserves to get in. I think the best case scenario for everybody is if Washington wins out, because then that makes Oregon a two-loss team, both of their losses to Washington, and then you can't keep them because they're a two-loss team and you can roll with that. But outside of that happening, if Oregon wins the Pac-12 and then the loser of the Ohio State-Michigan game, they don't have an opportunity to win the Big Ten championship at that point. But if the loser of that game is Ohio State, who is ranked higher, then that would be interesting to see if they slip in anyway. I think there's still 6-7 teams eligible for this. Yeah,
it's a toss-up, and I think that's something that when it comes along the line in these next couple of weeks, that's something that we're going to look at it and we're going to be like, oh, this is going to be exciting. It's going to be like postseason baseball, like wondering like who's going to be in
all over
because
again.
Because of the stupid the stupid wild card, how that went down. Not like stupid in a sense, but just like everything. Like we were like, what was going on?
There were a million things going on. Yeah. I feel like this is definitely. I could be wrong, but it feels like this is the most teams still eligible for the college football playoff this late in the year. As in, I feel like we've had a better sense of who's definitely in previous years, where it's down to like 4 or 5 teams, and can somebody win out is the only question. But I feel like there maybe even 8 teams are still in it because as far back as Alabama is currently ranked. So we'll see. There's no way that we could talk college football and not talk about the University of Southern California and their game against Oregon, because Oregon went off. Oregon won kind of sure-handedly.
Yep.
Peyton
26-27.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they didn't win sure-handedly. If the final score was 26-27, they only won by 1 point. Oregon got the job done against USC. But Peyton, how many losses is that for USC? That's 4 now, right?
Indeed.
Yeah. Did you foresee a fall off for USC like this?
I don't know, man. I really did. ESPN had Oregon winning this game. The win probability, even before like the first snap or anything, 83.6%. They were like, USC's not that team anymore. Even though they have Caleb Williams and have a talent like him, defense still needs some work. Obviously, they see how big Oregon is. Obviously, I mean they're ranked 6th. The only losses that they have is the loss coming from Washington. So Oregon, I think, gosh, they just rode with that, man, and they were in control of this whole entire game. Had the lead.
Yeah,
I think almost like the majority of the time. Yeah, they had the lead. They had the lead the whole way through. So, yeah, man, you hate to see it for Williams and USC. I really wanted Williams to have a good season this year. Had a great season last year, obviously being the Heisman. But I mean, when Bo Nix is going out there giving you 400 plus yards, 4 tutties,
Yeah.
against a USC defense that we been touching on here recently, um,
That can't
I mean,
stop a
you can't be
nosebleed.
that. Yeah, you can't. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I can't stop.
Yeah, but can you think of a time that a team has had a fall off like this, like in your college football recollection? Because this is a team that at one point in the season was ranked 5th in the top 25, like for a couple consecutive weeks.
Like
And then
in a
they dropped a little
season.
bit because of their defense. Yeah. Because the only other team I can think of would be USC again, back when they were ranked like number 1 and 2 with Alabama. Week
I
1
would.
happened and then it flipped. And then
I would.
USC fell off.
I would low key say, not in a season, but like just in a span of just like a couple months. TCU. I think that's like that's a lot.
TCU lost the offseason. The
Yeah,
way that happened for them,
yeah, like runner
because
up, then you lose your first game against Colorado, and then we haven't heard from them again.
yeah, that's the last relevant piece of TCU that I remember is Max Duggan.
Right.
Like, I can't remember a thing about this year. But
Right.
anyway, USC has fallen off, and I can't remember a team other than USC back in their earlier 2010s that had something similar to this happen to them again. Because that's quite the fall off to be ranked 5th and then within 4 or 5 weeks not be in
You're
the top
unranked,
25
and now
ranking
you're
at all.
7-4, right?
Yeah, and we're trying to find where the next win is in the schedule. So quite the drop off.
Like, hold on, let me see.
I don't know who they have next, but I mean, rivalry weekend is coming up, so I would almost assume that they do play UCLA or somebody Cal. Maybe they've already played Cal. I think they have.
I think they have played Cal. I'm looking at it right now. They play UCLA. That's their last game actually. They play UCLA and I think they have a bye.
Yeah, so that's horrendous for the University of Southern California. Quite the drop off this season.
Yeah.
But if we're talking drop offs, there's no way we could have that conversation without bringing up Texas A&M. And to all the Aggies out there, I am so sorry that this has happened to you, but you are yet another victim of Jimbo Fisher, who is going to steal $77 million from your donors and
how does that happen?
Get paid to go sit on the couch and do nothing. But that's horrendous.
Jimbo Fisher right now, there. Show me the door and when I need to leave.
Yeah. I'm hoping if I'm Jimbo Fisher, I'm waiting for the check to hit and then I'm clocking out, doing absolutely nothing with the rest of. Totally. I don't know. Totally. I don't know if we see him coach again because of how bad that went at Texas A&M. But I mean, you're paying quite a hefty price to get rid of a coach that wasn't all that good. So that kind of sucks. You know what else sucks, Peyton, is sitting down on a Sunday after just making, I think I had 6 pancakes, chocolate chip pancakes, butter, syrup, everything.
Oh, yeah.
Turning on Fox, watching the last 10 minutes of the Fox NFL Sunday preview, and then walking right into just a buzzsaw known as the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
Putting up a field goal and being satisfied with that. Because I didn't think we were going to see that happen. I didn't think the Jaguars were going to lose 34-3. I think that was the final score.
Yeah.
That was just horrendous. Nothing looked right, in my opinion. Peyton, did you see a single thing in that game that looked right? Are there any wins to walk away from after this?
Lawrence didn't get injured.
Yeah, that's the silver lining. Like, I don't think any of the key players got hurt.
Which I don't know
but that was awful.
He didn't get injured.
Yeah, because he had
coming off the edge and
Bosa and Young on both edges.
The tackles, yeah.
But we were set up to fail there because obviously their pass defense is pretty good if they can hold the Dallas Cowboys to essentially a similar number of points. And I'm not sitting here calling the Dallas Cowboy offense electric, but if you can hold CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott to essentially no receptions, then you're clearly doing something right with your number one corner. So, Peyton,
right.
I honestly did not go and look, but I would venture to say that Calvin Ridley did not touch the ball. I don't know if he actually had any receptions. So you go ahead and look into that.
I'm gonna look at that. Yeah,
but Travis Etienne is another thing that bothered me about this game because we've said for a while he has an inability to run in between the tackles. Any successful run for him has to be bounced outside. Well, it's kind of hard to get the run game going for a running back who can only run outside when the outside edge rushers are Nick Bosa and Chase Young. So
Right.
we were not put in a place to succeed in this game, and it looked about as bad as it could possibly get.
Yeah. No, agreed.
We've already covered this.
Calvin had 2 receptions, 3 targets, 2 receptions for 20 yards. So he was averaging 10. And then, yeah, man. So didn't look good.
Yeah, just
I want to look at
all-time
something
bad.
here. I think we released Tank Bixby this morning. Let me confirm.
Because I would almost said that he would have been the silver lining, other than Trevor Lawrence not getting hurt. I didn't watch
there was
much
that
of the
drop
second
pass
half
that
there,
went through
but
his hands, and it was an interception.
yeah. But also, at the same time, I don't know how willing we should be to get rid of a guy who can run in between tackles, honestly, at this point. Maybe I'm just seeing ghosts out there. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe Travis Etienne is a guy, but I'm not seeing it right now.
It was a fake post. Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
Bixby's still on the roster. I thought he got cut. I was like, dang. Yeah, that one game. Yeah.
No, I knew it was over within 2 drives because of how poorly those 2 drives went. There was a point in time where it looked like, and I texted this to you and Dad, Peyton, when I said it looks like the quarterback, the O-line, and the receivers each ran a different play.
Yeah.
The center snapped the ball, and the entire O-line moved as if it were a screen pass. Lawrence looked to the right to where the screen would have been thrown to, pump faked, but no receivers were looking at him.
Right.
And then none of the receivers were waiting on the catch. They were all kind of blocking. So absolutely horrendous, especially taking a sack on the first drop back because Chase Young and Nick Bosa were and there was a holding call on that. And our edge tackle was holding Nick Bosa to keep him from killing Trevor. So just didn't look good. Yeah. Looking forward, what needs to be improved?
O-line's got to be better, I think. Harrison, I think, is doing his job for the most part. Our rookie that we have. But got to protect Trevor a lot better than what we did. I think with the acquisition of Cleveland from the Vikings, I think that helps a little bit. But, I mean, obviously we didn't see it in this game. But, I mean, I think it's not time to hit the panic button again yet, I think. We're 6-3. Oh, you think different?
I don't know, man. I felt like that was the one where we played an elite team and got exposed. Because we've played against other decent teams like the Bills and come out with a win. I mean, looking at the rest of our schedule, we've kind of beat the teams that we needed to and lost a couple games that I thought we should have won. But I felt the Niners, even though they had lost 4 straight, was still one of the elite teams in the league, and we just didn't show up. I'm concerned about our willingness to push through and to put points on the board even when the offense isn't clicking, because even some of the even offenses that have a hard time scoring anyway, like the Steelers, put enough points on the board to win.
That's true. Yeah.
So the Giants and the Cowboys played this weekend as well, and we all knew this was going to happen. At least I did. Which is why before we even got on the airwaves for this one, I went ahead and posted to YouTube and Instagram the short from the last episode where I said, yeah, the Cowboys are going to win. They're going to win big, but slow your roll. Chillax a little bit. There's still a lot of season left. We're going to see Dallas choke something here pretty soon. So, I mean, for what it's worth, that defense did the job once again. And it didn't look like the Giants had much of a fighting chance.
No, they did. Man, CeeDee Lamb has been having himself a couple of games, man. I think it was his 3rd game in a row. It was 100+ yards, and maybe even 100 plus 150 yards. He's been consistent, man. I don't know if you saw the one-handed catch that he had. I saw it live.
Yeah, it looked good. It was
But yeah, it
clean.
was good. Yeah, it was really clean. So yeah, they're doing all right, man. They're getting it done. Shout out to our resident Cowboys fan that we have. Enjoy it while it lasts. Won't last for long. And then shout out
Probably
to
not.
our resident Giants fan. Man, we're sorry.
Yeah. I mean, you signed Daniel Jones to a contract. What else did you expect? This is
No.
kind of the best case scenario,
you,
honestly. It's
you
just
throw
losing
you
enough
throw
games to
DeVito
go
out
pick
there.
someone else.
Yeah, you throw DeVito out there, man, and you're just like, what's going on? Trying to run the
Yeah.
ball, trying to get it out of enemy territory, and you're just getting stuffed, and Barkley's not getting the job done, and you're just like, okay, what's going on? I'm done here.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, we're Giants fans, we feel for you.
Yeah. It's a bit of a rough look. But let's go ahead and start this conversation about the Browns and the Ravens because I thought this game was
Yeah.
interesting. At one point, the Ravens were leading this game 17-3, and they wind up losing this game 33-31 to the Browns. I didn't think Deshaun Watson still had it in him, but there was a specific second down play. It might have been 2nd and 15, 2nd and 20. That he rips a 20-yard seed to Amari Cooper, makes it 3rd and short, and somewhere later in that drive, he scrambles. Actually, I might be getting that confused with Kyler Murray. But later in that drive, they kick the game-winning field goal. They make it 33-31. But the Ravens, they looked scary at the beginning of this game. It looked like it was the Ravens game to lose 14-0 at one point in the first quarter. And it was, in fact, that. It was the Ravens game to lose. And the defense wasn't able to close it out, which is kind of shocking for a Baltimore defense because, historically, they've always been good. But I don't know. Are the Cleveland Browns for real? Like, Peyton, they're sitting here at 6-3 right now, which isn't all that bad of a record.
Yeah, so what the Jags are right now. So
yeah, no. Are the Jags 6-3 or are we worse?
We're 6-3.
I thought we were worse.
6-3, baby.
But 6-3, like, are the Cleveland Browns for real? Is Deshaun Watson that guy again?
Man, I don't know. I mean, driving down the field, getting a game-winning field goal. Maybe, man. We shall see. I haven't been following the Browns at all, I think, this season. So I mean, it'll be interesting to look at. There's 6-3, and I'm looking at their schedule now. Here's what they got. So they got the Steelers, I think, here soon. Yeah, so they got the Steelers, Denver, Rams, and Jags for the next 4 games. It's quite possible, man.
Yeah. But even in this division, it's Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Cincinnati. You would think that division would be easily decided, but the worst team in it seems to be Cincinnati.
Right. Yeah.
Which is weird. So 6-3, are they for real? Yeah, maybe. But are they going to make it out of their division? Man, I don't know.
I don't know. Because, I mean, Pittsburgh's 6-3 as well. So you got to throw that in there.
Yeah. Are the Steelers for real at 6-3? Because they're doing this with a quarterback and an offensive coordinator that do not do well together.
Right.
And their best receiver, George Pickens, hardly touches the ball. Like, he had negative reception yards in a game.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the Steelers schedule right now, and what I see possibly, like 4, maybe 5 wins.
Yeah, somewhere in there, because it's Browns, Bengals, Cardinals, Patriots, Colts, Bengals, Seahawks, Ravens.
Right.
That's Deshaun, Joe, Cardinals. I mean, a couple weeks ago would have been easier to beat.
Right.
But now that Kyler's back, man, who knows? Because they pulled off something miraculous.
Yeah.
Patriots, you should beat. Colts, you should beat. I mean, if you win one of the 2 Bengals games,
right,
you've already beat the Ravens. Shoot, the Steelers might be for real. Like, it's not a great product that they've put out there, but they're still finding a way to win games. Like, does Mike Tomlin deserve Coach of the Year if the Steelers go to the playoffs?
Man, I wouldn't go too far, because then I think you're just hanging a little low-hanging fruit for good old John Michael and Dan Driscoll over there at What's Up, Doc.
No. I know exactly what they would say. They would say this. I do not care if we make the playoffs or not. I care whether or not we have a good product out there on the field consistently winning football games. Because if we're not winning Super Bowls or making deep playoff runs, what good is it to just barely make the playoffs?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, shoot, I look at the product that they have out there right now, and it's not amazing, but they're still winning football games. I would give Mike Tomlin the Coach of the Year award right now.
Dang. Yeah.
I would do that. Speaking of coaches,
Mm-hmm.
the New England Patriots, it's not looking great for him.
Yeah.
We've seen the chatter at the beginning of the year regarding Bill Belichick and whether or not he survives this season. Start when? Like 3 weeks into the season? Or somewhere around there? But here we are, week 10, and lots of people are calling for this to be the last year that Bill Belichick is the head coach of the New England Patriots. I didn't think I would ever see the day. Do you think Bill makes it to the next season? Is Bill Belichick the head coach of New England next year?
Well, I don't think so. I think they'll ask him to leave, which is going to be tough because, I mean, he's been there for I don't even know how long now, over 20 years.
Yeah. Hey, that's interesting language you use right there, because you said Robert Kraft would essentially ask Bill Belichick to leave because you don't want to fire the guy. You would ask him to resign or step away from New England.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you do if he says no? Because he strikes me as the guy that would say no. Do you fire him, or do you try to find a different way to go about things?
At that point, you fire him, I think.
Okay.
I think they're. Yeah. I don't think he stays. I don't think he stays following next season. It just goes more. Just goes to show just how Tom Brady was just in total control of the Patriots, and he's probably like sitting at home laughing right now because like it's just further exemplifying what Tom Brady did for the Patriots. And then as soon as he left, everything Tom Brady's winning the divorce right now.
Yeah,
that's
if
what
we're having that conversation, who ultimately has won the divorce? I think very early on we could have said Belichick, just because he had a pseudo good year with Cam Newton, at least early on, and then it looked like Mac Jones was the permanent replacement. But now, no, Brady won. Brady won that divorce, I think, very easily. Let's go ahead and start buy, sell, or hold, but let's stay right here. Buy, sell, or hold, Bill Belichick is the coach for New England to start next season. So do you have any early candidates that you would say are the head coach?
Jim or are you just Harbaugh? I don't know. So no, I mean,
shoot,
right? You can throw Harbaugh out there, but if anything, I think he'll go to the Raiders.
You get Jim Harbaugh to be the head coach of the New England Patriots, and then he has an opportunity to draft J.J. McCarthy in the first round?
Oh, maybe. Or like a later round.
Dang. Yeah.
Or maybe
Caleb I don't Williams. Know if JJ survives. Yeah, maybe Caleb Williams at that point. But if you're Jim, that's slapping JJ if you're going to take Caleb Williams over him.
Right.
I think a lot of that just comes down to what pick they have. But you're wholesale selling on Bill Belichick being the coach next season. Man, there's no way I'm buying this. I don't want to sell. And I have a personal vendetta against holding because I think it's weak not taking a stance. But I think I will sell.
Okay.
Bill Belichick, I don't think, is going to be the head coach in New England at the start of next season. We've already talked about J.J. McCarthy. Who eventually picks him up, I don't know. But buy, sell, or hold, J.J. McCarthy is the answer in Minnesota.
Sell, I think. They found their answer. His name is Josh Dobbs.
Do you think Josh Dobbs is the starter next season?
I do believe that. I think from what we've seen so far, and how he is just able to come into an offensive scheme that he didn't even know where the home locker room was yesterday.
I did see that. That was crazy.
That's crazy. And then he goes out there and uses rocket science's powers and gives it to who do they play? I don't even know who they played. I was just like keeping up with the fact that like Josh Dobbs was doing good. I didn't even know who they played.
I don't think it matters who they play. If he walks out there and tosses the ball to Hawkinson as much as he did, you're gonna win.
Mm-hmm.
So very impressive. Yeah, JJ McCarthy, I think, is the answer for some type of franchise out there. I don't think it is Minnesota. I mean, I think we're pretty much in agreement that Kirk Cousins is not going to be the quarterback in Minnesota to start next year. So, shoot, if they're going to start looking and they find their answer in Josh Dobbs, I don't know if that says more about Josh Dobbs and the progress he's made or Minnesota and their inability to go find more proven talent. But, I mean, hats off to Josh Dobbs for getting it done so far.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and switch gears here a little bit, get into some more baseball stuff. Peyton, we've seen Shohei Ohtani in conversations of being baseball's first $500 million man. Lots of money being tied to him. But I want to throw this at you. Buy, sell, or hold. Shohei Ohtani signs a short-term, high average annual value deal instead of a long-term deal. And when I say this, I mean we could see Shohei sign some sort of 4-year, $100 million deal instead of some 13-year, $512 million deal, where the short-term average annual value is higher.
Right. That's totally, man.
I don't see Shohei as the guy that wants to play baseball forever. Like, I think Shohei is willing to call it quits at 35 if he has accomplished all that he wants to accomplish in the game.
Yeah.
So why lock himself up into a contract that has a ton of money attached to it when he could sign 2 short-term, high average annual value deals?
Yeah, now when you explain like that, I want to buy. So I think I am.
Yeah. Now, ultimately, what team he signs with, we're going to get into that here in a second. But for the final buy, sell, or hold this afternoon, let me go ahead and throw this at you. The Braves' biggest offseason loss will turn out to be Ron Washington.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Washington did a lot for the Braves. A lot for the Braves.
Did you see he stole the first base coach from Atlanta?
Really?
Yeah,
oh my
he's
gosh.
going to Anaheim, and the first base coach for the Braves is going to be the third base coach for the Angels, with Ron calling the shots.
Maybe, gosh, we might have to get into that when the next season comes around and see how the Angels do. I don't think they'll do that great, but like, we may have to be like, all right, who won the divorce? In this one,
we're gonna have another divorce conversation. But shoot, I think it's very possible their biggest loss is Ron Washington. I'm buying that right now.
Yeah, I'm buying that. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I don't know Ozzy Albies personally, but if Ozzy Albies is pouring his heart out on Instagram after Ron announces he's going over to Los Angeles, then something's up in that clubhouse.
Really?
I don't know if they're the same. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the Braves survive this, but let's go ahead and cover some of these recent transactions and rumors. Not really straying all that far away from Shohei Ohtani or Atlanta. Peyton, it has recently been reported by John Morosi that Shohei Ohtani is intrigued by the possibility of playing in Atlanta.
Yep.
How much of a grain of salt are we taking this with? Is John Morosi spot on? Like, do we need to realistically be preparing ourselves for Shohei in Atlanta? Or is this just early offseason rumor fodder?
Man, I think this is early offseason. Just try to throw something at us to get excited about the offseason type beat. Maybe.
I take the absolute opposite stance.
Yeah, okay, go for it. Why do you think so?
I think there's a realistic possibility he winds up there, because if we look at the recent conversation we just had about him possibly signing a high average annual contract, and he signs a $400 million deal, that does not interfere with Michael Harris's long-term deal he just signed, Austin Riley's long-term deal. Really the only one that gets affected by it is Arcia, because his deal is up in another 2 or 3 years. But over there at first base, Matt Olson is also locked up long-term. Albie's locked up long-term. suddenly you can afford to go out and get, especially in a market like Atlanta, two high name guys like Acuna, retain him for whatever the cost. But if you can also throw 4 years, 5 years, $100 million, whatever it takes at Ohtani for him to like, I think if the Atlanta Braves snag Ohtani, they've won the offseason and they're
Oh,
good. They don't need to do anything more than just snagging him.
mm.
I think it's realistic. I don't think it's just fodder. I think he really does have an interest to play there because they are a contender.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I see that now. I've forgotten that Olsen and Albies were locked up. The only thing that was like kind of like for me was hesitant in that was just like, all right, are they gonna have like cap space? Are they gonna be able to pay him? Are
Dude,
they?
there's no cap in baseball. The biggest contract I think they
Oh,
have
that's
on the books
true.
right now
That's
is
right.
Ozuna. And
Ozuna.
Ozuna is done barely. I think he has 1 or 2 years left if he's not
That's right.
already under an expired contract right now.
That's right. Oh, because
So,
it's luxury tax. Gosh, I gotta remember. Okay.
yeah.
Um.
Which I think if you're signing Ohtani to a high average annual value contract,
Yeah.
you're willing to pay the luxury tax.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. So
Why not?
could be wild in Atlanta here pretty shortly, but let's go ahead and keep going over these recent transactions and
Yeah.
rumors. The
So,
Astros have signaled that they want to lock up Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman long term. I
yeah.
think this is in their best interest. Do you?
I think so too. I don't know why, in a sense, they're wanting to hold on to both of them for so long. I mean, kind of had their success with them. I think for a majority of
Yeah.
these like past 7 years, obviously going to the ALCS, past 7 years. But it's not confusing to me, obviously, because I mean Bregman, coming from good old LSU and then just absolutely tearing it up here as soon as he got to the majors and Altuve for that matter. I mean, just having consistent year after consistent year. I don't think this past year he had like a great season, but
Well, he had a broken hand from the WBC playing for Venezuela, so he got
oh,
started
that's right,
late.
that's right, that's right. Yeah, but yeah, hey, if it's in their best interest and if they can get it done, get it done.
Yeah, I think it's in their best interest to retain both of them. I know that Altuve probably is a lot more willing to sign a deal where he ends his career in Houston. I don't know how willing Alex Bregman will be, though, because I
Mm.
think he's a guy that could actually benefit from testing the free agent market a little bit. And I know he's only locked up for 1 more year, so we'll see what happens after that. Staying in Houston, the bench coach, Espada, has been promoted to the manager, which, I mean,
Yeah,
my takes are awesome. And I thought AJ Hinch was going to be the next manager following Dusty Baker in Houston, but evidently I'm wrong once again. So, how do you see this move playing out? Because I see a lot of the camaraderie, a lot of the loyalty
yeah,
sticking with it in
yeah.
Houston. I mean, if you're just going to promote the next guy into the highest position, I think that says something about the organization.
I totally agree. I was actually going to bring everything up. I think that since this is inside the house and that they're bringing up their guy and it's someone that they believe in, someone that they've had in the clubhouse for a long time now, then I'd say go for it. I think this is the
Yeah.
easiest decision I think they could have made.
Yeah. So the Chicago Cubs are allegedly in on Rhys Hoskins. They have expressed some interest in him. Rhys Hoskins recently coming off of a CL surgery somewhere in his knee. I can't remember if it's the MCL or
Yeah,
ACL, but it's a
we totally
CL
forgot to look at that.
surgery
I'll look at that for us right now.
nonetheless. Yeah, but Philly not expressing any interest in signing him long term to keep him. So the Cubs, it appears, are the first ones to jump on that wagon there to try to bring him on, which I
Yeah.
think is a little interesting because I know they want to hold on to Bellinger as well, but Bellinger has some utility in playing both first base and the outfield. I mean,
Mhm.
I haven't looked at the Cubs roster recently to see whether or not Rhys Hoskins fits in there with ease. I know, the permanent DH in the National League has changed things for a lot of guys, but I thought that was interesting. I didn't necessarily pick the Cubs as being the team that Rhys Hoskins was going to, draw a lot of interest from, but
Sure.
I mean, I think it works. I don't know if it's the best place, but I do think it works.
Yeah. He tore his ACL. Now that I'm looking at it now, in a spring
Yeah.
training game. That's right. I remember that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So ACL, and I mean, I'm looking at this too, and I'm looking at the Cubs like first baseman, and nothing comes to mind. So I think it's a good fit for Rhys to just stay in the NL, and to get some playing time because Harper is going to be on the first baseman for the Phillies now. So they're just kind of moving on with him in a sense.
Yeah. Sticking with the Phillies a little bit here, they have also signaled that Nick Castellanos is available in a dream trade package, which I didn't quite understand. I think you got to hold on to Nick Castellanos. He's kind of the personality of that team.
I think so. Yeah.
Don't get rid of Nick. I think that's a big mistake. And part of that could just be me reminiscing over the past two postseasons where he's been playing for Philadelphia and just the electricity in Citizens Bank Park, but I don't think you can get rid of Nick Castellanos in Philly. I think that's a big mistake.
Yeah, from what it sounds like to me, Alex, and what I've been kind of seeing with just the recent transactions and rumors, that, in fact, I think a question I'll even post here as well is just like, are the Phillies like panicking and blowing it up here right now?
I don't think they're blowing it up, but I do think they're panicking. They're trying to ask the question, what are we missing? And I think they're coming up with the wrong answers because this is two straight years where they've come up short of the World Series in a World Series or bust year. And I think they are starting to ask that question, do we have what it takes?
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, this should be interesting. I mean, Castellanos didn't have a great NLCS. Like, I don't even know if he had a hit, maybe 1, 2. In the amount of the bats that he had in this LCS. So,
yeah, wasn't awesome. But again, staying with Philly, Aaron Nola, another guy that they are not planning on bringing back as of right now. As far as I know, it doesn't seem like there's been a ton of chatter between Aaron Nola's camp and Philadelphia's camp in terms of bringing him back long term. But Peyton, you and I have said that the Red Sox are in need of viable starting pitching. Should the Red Sox be in the hunt for Aaron Nola? Yes or no?
I would ask questions. Yeah, I think it's totally viable to find that one guy. I think that will give you consistent start after consistent start. Aaron Nola has proven that for sure in Philly, except for this past.
Which would be nice after watching Chris Sale be hurt the last several years. If we could get a guy that's known for staying healthy.
And Pavetta and Whitlock.
Don't remind me.
I know. So, and Hawk. So, yeah, I would call Breslow. Get on it.
If I'm Craig Breslow right now, I mean, if I haven't already, I am on the phone asking, hey, Aaron Nola's agent, what's the number? Like, throw a number at me. Let's see what we can do with it.
Yeah, sure.
Like, that's all I'm doing. Like, because if it's unreasonable, we can move on. But if it's suddenly something that we think we can definitely afford and is in our best interest, then absolutely we need to be jumping on that.
Right.
So the last episode that we did last Thursday, we played a game where we came up with 10 of some of the best pitching free agents, and we kind of guessed and predicted, the best landing spot for them. We're going to do the exact same thing with the hitters now. And Peyton, oddly enough, it starts with the exact same guy, Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
Where did you say that he was going to wind up last episode? And where do you think he winds up today?
Said the Dodgers last time, just because I think it'd be a good fit for them with Kershaw. I think like either on the last leg of his no, he's a free agent, isn't he? He's a free agent.
Yeah.
So
I think Kershaw winds up in Texas. I've kind of said that.
Yeah, you did say that. That's right. So to have somebody, well, I mean, obviously he's not going to be pitching until 2025. I think is the year that they put on it. But just to have just another star in LA, I think that'd be great. But looking at it now, I think it's kind of between the Braves and the Cubs, I think.
Yeah. I think Seattle is the best spot for him.
Yeah.
I'm still picking Seattle. But boy howdy, I am interested in seeing him play in Atlanta now. I would love to see that. I think it works out for everybody if he does that. Next on the list, Cody Bellinger. Was a Dodger for a
Really.
long time. Had
Yeah.
2 years in a row that were down. Not awesome. Not normal. Cody Bellinger
Yeah.
signed this prove it deal with the Chicago Cubs. Had himself a great year. Free agent now. Where does Cody Bellinger wind up, Peyton?
I don't think there's much for him anywhere else but to remain with the Cubs. I think
Yeah.
so. I think he stays.
I think the Cubs lose a lot if they lose Bellinger, but I do expect the New York Yankees to be a player here.
Oh, that's right. They
Their
were
need
talking with
for
it.
a left-handed outfield bat once
Yeah.
again. I mean, I think they either get Kiermaier or Bellinger. I don't think they get both. But if it comes down to Chicago and New York, I think Bellinger would rather play in New York.
Yeah.
Because then he's with Rizzo,
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, next on the list, JD Martinez. Designated hitter, came up in Detroit after getting let go by Houston. Got traded from Detroit to Arizona in the 2017 offseason, or not offseason, but in 2017 trade deadline. Ultimately found himself in Boston on a 5-year deal, had a down year his last year in Boston, signed an offseason deal with the Los Angeles Dodgers, had a great year.
Yeah.
He's once again proven that he's one of the better hitters in the league. Where does JD Martinez sign this offseason? Where is he?
Martin, I'm looking at these. I'm looking at these guys on the list. And I'm thinking, man, I don't know where they would go necessarily, but I would like to see JD back in the Sox uniform. I think that would give us
Yeah,
our
I would love it.
outfielder. That we are like a
No,
strong
I
power
don't
hitter.
think we can rely on him to be an outfielder. I think he's a designated hitter. His
Oh
defense
yeah,
is abysmal.
that's true. That's true. Okay, then throw him in the DH spot. Have a power right-handed hitter that I think we've been talking about for a little bit. I don't know what his market value would be placed at now, but if we can get him for cheap, and then we can also get like a good outfielder who is good on defense and can also produce on the plate, I wouldn't mind that. But I think Martinez could stay with the Dodgers, but I'd like to see him back
Yeah.
on the Los Angeles Red Sox.
I think if there's somebody on this list that stays with the team that they're with right now, I think it is JD Martinez back
Sure.
in LA. But for the sake of the segment, I think a great spot for him to land would be Cincinnati, just to fill their DH role. And suddenly you get a veteran in that clubhouse with Ellie De La Cruz. And now you got a guy with great hands who learned from Miguel Cabrera teaching Ellie De La Cruz. So
That's true.
I think it's on the Reds' radar. And I think if you can solidify your DH with a guy who's going to pop off with 30 bombs a year, suddenly that's supplemental for Ellie De La Cruz.
Yeah.
Matt Chapman, third baseman, came up as an Oakland A, got traded to Toronto. I think if you're Toronto, you make that trade 10 times out of 10. It just didn't pan out for you. But Matt Chapman's market value significantly lower right now than it would have been if he were just leaving the Oakland Athletics before he went to Toronto. Peyton, third baseman Matt Chapman, great defense. Where does he sign this offseason?
Who needs a third baseman right now
Right.
in this league?
I can't think of a team that desperately needs a third baseman.
Because I mean, just looking through the AL East right now, and I don't think there is a third baseman that needs to be replaced in a sense. I mean, Devers obviously not.
Right.
So man, I don't know. I actually am. I don't know. I don't know where he'll go. I think that's the one where I'm like, man, you're testing free agency here. I don't know where you're gonna go.
Yeah, just kind of seeing what's out there.
Yeah.
I think.
Who do you think?
Same as you. I can't think of a team that's desperately in need of a third baseman, but I don't think San Francisco is a team that's just kind of sit there idly and do nothing this year. I think we could see San Francisco in the mix for Matt Chapman, get him back on the West Coast in California and away from Toronto and Canada. I don't know how well that works out for everybody, but I think San Francisco is a team that's going to try to make a splash this offseason. Outfielder Jorge Soler, where do you think? Below average fielding, above average pop.
Above average pop. He's with Miami. right?
Yes.
Stays with Miami, I think.
Yeah, I'm actually going Boston here. You get me a right-handed bat that can play the outfield and DH a little bit. I'm taking my chances with Jorge Soler on a 2 to 3 year deal. You're telling me a pull-happy hitter with pop like him wouldn't just pepper the Green Monster?
Yeah, that would be nice, right?
Yeah, suddenly you have power in the outfield spot, and you can play him in left field and move Yoshida to right field, Duran in center. I mean, regardless of what you do with the outfield, all of a sudden you have a right-handed power hitter that you can plug into the lineup every day as a DH or as an outfielder. So I think it's worth a shot. Put Jorge Soler in Boston.
True. Yeah.
Lourdes Gurriel Jr., not a name that I knew very much of prior to the postseason, but definitely a name I know now. Where does he wind up? Because he is a free agent.
Lourdes Gurriel Jr.
See, because I would say Seattle,
Oh.
but given the beginning of the offseason Seattle had, where they were talking about we like exactly where we are and the players were saying, no, we need more. I walk into any negotiation room with the execs over there in Seattle as Lourdes Gurriel Jr., and I say, all right, am I the answer? Like, am I the answer to the players' request for wanting more star power, or am I your answer? Am I just another guy you're going to plug into this lineup every day
Yeah.
and hope for the best?
Ooh. So you're saying he stays? Or no, sorry. They say that he goes to, would you say Seattle?
No, I said he goes to Seattle.
Yeah, okay. I'm not opposed to that idea. I think he sure well could go to Seattle. Kind of help out that young core a little bit. Place him out there in is he right fielder, right? Am I thinking of the right guy?
And outfielder.
An
Yeah,
outfielder.
I think
Okay,
so.
yeah. And if you throw him out there in the outfield that already has Julio Rodriguez out there, you're chilling and popping the bat with Eugenio Suarez, Julio Rodriguez again. Like, if I'm Seattle, I'm calling.
Yeah. Teoscar Hernandez, another outfielder, but this time from Seattle, that a lot of people have, kind of an interest in. I don't know how big that interest is in Teoscar Hernandez. I would love to see him back in Seattle. I think Seattle does have a legit need for a star in the outfield. And I know that they have Julio Rodriguez. So don't start in the comment section. I know Julio Rodriguez is there, but I can't name the other two guys. I know it's Teoscar Hernandez and somebody else, but gosh, I think best landing place for him is not in Seattle just because of the state of that organization.
Sure.
But I think ultimately he does wind up back in Seattle.
I think this is one of the ones where I think that he'll go back to a team that he's more comfortable with and kind of knows the lay of the land a little bit. I think he goes back to the Blue Jays.
Interesting. I could see that working out for everybody involved.
Yeah.
First baseman Rhys Hoskins. We've talked about him being linked to the Chicago Cubs already, but I don't think that's the best spot that he could go. I'm curious to hear what yours is, though, Peyton.
Ooh, first baseman. Who is in need of first baseman? So the Cubs, obviously, because I can't name the Cubs first baseman. So the Cubs are in need of one for sure. Right-handed pop bat. Boston also comes to mind.
No.
Okay.
His name is Tristan Casas.
Okay. Sounds good.
Just no.
Okay, great. Awesome. You don't have to say it again. I heard you the first time.
No.
Okay. I'm just sure. Man. I think ultimately I would say Cubs. I think Cubs would probably be a good fit for him to go.
I'm going Milwaukee Brewers here. I don't think they get Pete Alonso.
Pete Alonso is going to.
I don't think they get him because the Mets have already said that they're not necessarily open to trading him unless something blows them away. I don't think they get something that blows them away from Milwaukee. So why not go out and get you a first baseman in Rhys Hoskins?
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. We've talked about this guy a little bit briefly, and my hope that he winds up in Boston. I don't know how much he costs, though. Whit Merrifield. Where does he go?
I want to see him in Boston. I think
Boston. It's got to be Boston.
It's got to be Boston. So I'm really
Jorge
hoping.
Soler, Whit Merrifield, and Jordan Montgomery. I know those are all high dollar pieces, but if you're going to win a World Series, you got to spend some money. All right, last guy on this list. He's been a free agent a couple times in recent years, and we've seen him travel from team to team, it seems like. So I do want to get your take on this one as well. Jock Peterson.
Outfielder who doesn't even have a left-handed bat. Gosh.
I want to see him back in Atlanta. I think with the possibility that Ozuna just the off the field issues concern me with him. I don't know how long he is. Yeah, and just horrendous. I would like to see Jock Peterson back in Atlanta. I think he loves Atlanta. Atlanta loves him. If he's back in Atlanta, I think it works out for everybody.
He was with them in the 2021 championship that they got, right?
Yeah, won a World Series with them.
That's another perk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Jock, sign a contract. We can win a World Series again. We're also signing Ohtani.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds great, doesn't it? Suddenly you don't need Aaron Nola.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how the Braves bounce back after that 100 and something win season and only getting to the first round. So.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens moving forward with Atlanta. I do think losing Washington's going to hurt them, though.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of already showing itself. So, for the final time today on this Monday, possibly for the final time this week, you are listening to Diamonds and Hashmarks. I am the host and producer, Alex Pichardo.
And I'm the co-host, Peyton Pichardo. You did. We'll see you all later.